I never expected the letter to arrive on a Tuesday. Tuesdays were always the most forgettable days, too far from the fresh start of Monday, and not yet close enough to the comfort of Friday. But grief, like fate, doesn't care about calendars. It arrives when it wants to. And that morning, when I opened the mailbox in my faded robe and slippers, I found the white envelope addressed in a handwriting I knew as well as my own. My father's. My breath caught. He had been gone for barely 3 weeks. I held the envelope like it was made of glass. My hands trembled as if opening it would make the loss real all over again. The man who raised me with quiet strength, who worked with his hands his entire life, who taught me to never let greed turn roots into chains, he was still here somehow, in the way ink curves into letters, in the way his name pressed into paper. Inside was a single sheet. Asterisk, my dearest Margaret, asterisk, asterisk, if you are reading this, then my stubborn old heart has finally given out. I didn't have the courage to speak to you about what I left behind, not because I didn't trust you, but because I knew you would try to give it away, like you give everything of yourself. Keep what I have built, use it wisely, protect those you love, and forgive me for keeping secrets of my own. Asterisk, asterisk, your loving father. Asterisk, asterisk, Henry, asterisk. Tucked behind the letter was the contact information for his attorney. At first, I wasn't thinking about anything beyond the loss. I wasn't thinking about money, or inheritances, or old investments. I was thinking about Sunday breakfasts and his weathered hands passing me cups of hot tea, and the way he used to whistle when he worked in the garage. But when I sat across from the attorney 2 days later, reality shifted in an instant. My father, simple, modest, gentle, had left behind asterisk, asterisk, $9 million, asterisk, asterisk. 9 million. I stared numbly as the attorney explained. My father had spent decades investing quietly, letting dividends grow like hidden saplings. Land purchased 40 years ago and forgotten had skyrocketed in value. Bonds accumulated interest into small fortunes. Stocks he'd bought for pocket change were now worth more than entire houses. You were his only child, the attorney said. He wanted you to have everything. Everything, the word felt heavy, like a responsibility rather than a gift. If my father had been flashy or showy in life, maybe the wealth would have made sense. But this man wore mended jackets and drove the same truck for 25 years. He hid money not out of deceit, but out of humility, and, perhaps, out of fear of attracting people who saw him as a bank account rather than a human being. I walked out of the law office with trembling knees. $9 million, enough to change a life. Enough to ruin it too, and that was the heart of the problem. Because at home, waiting like sunlight in human form, was my daughter Lily. Sweet, trusting, tender-hearted Lily, with her wedding 3 months away, and her dreams stitched delicately into every word she spoke. She was excited, busy, overwhelmed but happy, and she was marrying a man I didn't fully trust, Daniel. His smile always came a second too quickly, like he had rehearsed it. His eyes scanned rooms not with curiosity, but with calculation. He complimented people with the same tone someone might use when talking to a bank teller, polite but detached. And when he hugged Lily, his arms wrapped around her, but his eyes were elsewhere. Maybe I would have ignored those doubts if not for the small, constant hints. The questions he asked about my home, the comments about financial security, the casual remark about how older generations owe their descendants a strong financial foundation. Who talks like that at 28? That day, sitting in my quiet kitchen with my father's inheritance papers spread around me, one truth crystallized so sharply I felt it in my bones. Asterisk, asterisk, if Daniel finds out about this money, he will use Lily, and I will lose her in silence. Asterisk, asterisk, I folded the documents and locked them away. I didn't tell Lily because I knew she would tell him. Not out of foolishness, but out of love. Pure, honest love from a heart that didn't understand deception. She had always believed the world was kinder than it is. I didn't tell my friends Because even well-meaning people talk. Gossip spreads, curiosity grows, and I needed secrecy more than congratulations. I didn't even tell myself, not really. I walked around for days pretending nothing had changed, though everything had. I cooked dinner. I went to work. I helped Lily choose tablecloths and taste cakes. All the while, that $9 million truth pulsed in the back of my mind like a heartbeat. Sometimes, at night, I sat in the living room with the lights off, staring at the fireplace and whispering to the air, "Dad, why didn't you tell me?" But I knew why. Because he knew the world. He knew people like Daniel, and he trusted me to protect our family. Still, guilt crept in. Was I betraying my daughter by hiding this, or protecting her? The lines blurred daily. One afternoon, as Lily's wedding dress arrived, she twirled in my living room, glowing like a beam of sunlight. She hugged me and whispered, "Mom, I'm so lucky to have Daniel. He's going to give me everything." I hugged her back tightly, too tightly. Because in that moment I realized something. Daniel wasn't the one who would give her everything. I was, and I would do it by giving her nothing, not yet. I would protect her with silence, even if she never understood. I buried the inheritance the way my father had buried his investments, quietly, deeply, secretly. It would come to light one day, but only when I was certain she was safe. I told myself I would reveal the truth once I saw with my own eyes that her marriage was built on trust, not ambition. But life is funny. You make a plan and fate laughs. The day after her wedding, when Daniel arrived with a notary and a smile sharp enough to make my blood run cold, I realized something terrifying. My silence had saved us. And my father's secrets were about to protect his granddaughter from the man who wanted to devour her future. The morning of the wedding felt like a painting. Pale sunlight drifted between the curtains, dust specks glittering in the air like tiny blessings. I stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down my dress, pretending my hands weren't shaking. Weddings are supposed to be days filled with hope, joy, bright tomorrows. But hope felt thin that day, like the kind of fabric that tears if you pull too hard. Still, I told myself it would all be fine. It had to be. Lily deserved happiness. She deserved a day untouched by worry. And maybe, just maybe, I was wrong about Daniel. Maybe the tension I felt whenever he was in the room was just a mother's overprotective nerves. But that little voice inside me, that soft hum of warning, didn't quiet. It throbbed steadily beneath my breastbone. When I arrived at the bridal suite, Lily turned toward me, glowing in silk and lace. No makeup artist could have painted such radiance. This was happiness, pure and unfiltered. She looked younger than she had in years, like the child who used to run barefoot through the backyard with a crown of dandelions on her head. "Mom," she whispered, breathless, "do I look okay?" I cupped her cheeks. "You look like something heaven made by mistake and sent down to us." She laughed through her nervous tears, and we stood there for a moment, taking each other in. And that's when I told myself, whatever your doubts, whatever shadows you sense, do not let them touch her today. But shadows don't need permission to creep in. ###. The ceremony begins ****. The venue was charming white stone walls, rose gardens twisting around wooden arches, candles lining the aisles. Everyone commented on how perfect it was, how romantic. But perfect things have cracks if you know where to look. Or where to listen. As I made my way to my seat, I caught snippets of conversations that pricked like needles. His family is so ambitious. Daniel said her mother has assets, lots of them. Well, marrying into stability is smart these days. I froze mid-step, a cold wave rolling down my spine. I turned slightly, enough to see who had spoken. Daniel's cousin, the loud one with the perpetual smirk, was whispering energetically to someone beside him. "She'll come through," he said, Older lady like that, sentimental, she'll want the kids taken care of. Bet she's sitting on a good chunk. They both laughed. As if I was a vault, as if Lily was a transaction. My fingers curled against the fabric of my dress. I wanted to confront them, ask them who told them anything about my finances. But the music shifted, then the violinists had begun playing the opening notes. Guests stood. Phones rose like mechanical flowers pointed toward the aisle. I took a deep breath and turned forward. This was Lily's moment, not mine. Then she appeared. She walked with slow grace, her veil catching the light like the wings of a resting butterfly. Her eyes found mine first, then sought Daniel, and when she saw him, her whole face softened. She loved him. That was the truth. Whatever else he was, he held her heart in his hands. Daniel smiled broadly at her, but something about the smile was different from the ones he had given me or anyone else. Too perfect, too practiced, I studied him, and for a second just a flicker. I saw it, a look of satisfaction, not love. A glint of triumph, not devotion. It passed so quickly, I questioned myself. Lily reached the altar, and the ceremony unfolded like a dream for everyone but me. I smiled, I dabbed tears, I held my breath at the vows. But underneath every gesture lay the heavy silent truth of the inheritance I'd hidden, the warning signs no one else seemed to see, the seed of fear taking root in my chest. When the officiant finally said, "You may kiss the bride," the guests erupted with joy, cameras flashed like stars. The world felt bright, but brightness can blind. Hash 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 asterisk asterisk, a whispered call that changed everything asterisk asterisk. The reception was lively. Music, dancing, champagne bubbling in tall glasses. I tried to relax, tried to breathe, tried to let Lily's laughter carry me into the celebration. But then, fate tugged at me again. I stepped outside for fresh air, the night breeze cool against my skin. Voices drifted from behind the arbor. One voice I recognized instantly. "Daniel, she'll give it after the wedding," he said in a low, urgent tone. Lily said she would talk to her. "It's just a matter of timing." I stopped dead. "We need that money soon," he continued. "I told you, once her mother steps up, everything moves forward." A pause, a sigh of annoyance. "Yes, I know she's cautious, but she loves Lily. She won't want to cause problems. She'll come through. Just give it a week." My breath hitched so loudly I had to clamp a hand over my mouth. I stepped back, heart pounding, eyes burning. What gift, what conversation, and how did he know there was anything to give? I slipped back inside before he could discover me. My pulse hammered so fiercely I felt faint. For the rest of the evening I watched him, his polished laugh, his perfect posture, his easy charm, and saw the crack beneath the surface. I saw the hunger there, not for my daughter's love, for what he believed he could gain. Hash 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 asterisk asterisk, the mother's smile asterisk asterisk still. I didn't ruin the night. Instead, I stood beside Lily as she cut the cake. I danced with her. I smiled for photos. I packed every worry deep inside me until it was an ache pressing beneath my ribs. At the end of the reception, Lily hugged me tightly. "Mom," she whispered into my neck, "thank you for everything. I love you." I kissed her forehead. "Always." But as she walked away, her hand tucked into Daniel's, my throat tightened with a fear I couldn't voice. The shadows I felt all day didn't fade. They only darkened. And I didn't know it yet, but those shadows would burst into reality the very next morning, when Daniel stood on my doorstep with a notary and a smile that told me everything I had feared was true. The morning after the wedding felt strangely quiet. Weddings leave behind a certain echo, a ringing in the soul from too much laughter, too much music, too much emotion crammed into one day. I woke up with that echo, a faint swell of exhaustion wrapped around my heart. I made tea, sat by the window, and let myself breathe. For a moment the world seemed gentle, then came the knock, a sharp, deliberate knock, the kind that expects obedience, not invitation. When I opened the door, the quiet morning snapped in half. There stood, asterisk asterisk, Daniel asterisk asterisk. Not in comfortable clothes like a man unwinding after his wedding night, but in a asterisk asterisk pressed suit asterisk asterisk, hair slicked back, posture rigid as marble. And beside him stood a stranger, a tall man in a dark blazer, holding a thick folder and a small leather case. A notary, I knew instantly. My stomach dropped so fast I felt dizzy. "Good morning, Margaret," Daniel said with a brightness so forced it sounded like a threat wrapped in sunshine. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." My throat tightened. "Daniel, what is this?" He stepped forward as if he owned the doorway. The notary followed. They entered my house without waiting for permission. A violation small enough to ignore, but heavy enough to leave a bruise. The notary set his folder on my kitchen table. Daniel unbuttoned his suit jacket and smiled at me the way a salesman smiles at a customer he's already convinced will buy something. "I'll explain everything," he said. "This is just a quick formality. Formality. The word tasted poisonous." He opened the folder. Inside were official-looking documents, legal paragraphs, bold titles, highlighted signature lines. I felt every hair on my arm stand on end. "What is this?" I repeated. Daniel clasped his hands behind his back, pacing slowly, confidently. "Well," he began, "Lily mentioned something important to me a while back. She told me you were planning to give us a financial wedding gift, a substantial one, something meaningful to help us build our future." My heartbeat stuttered. "I never said that." I said quietly. Daniel chuckled, like I was the one misremembering. "Oh, it must have come up in conversation, or maybe she misunderstood you. But don't worry." He tapped the top page. "This paperwork will make everything easy. We're just transferring funds from your account into a joint marital account for us." The room tilted for a moment. "How much?" I asked. I don't know why I asked. Maybe part of me hoped he would say something small, something reasonable, something that would prove I was overreacting all along. But Daniel didn't hesitate. "9 million. He said it calmly, confidently, as if he were ordering breakfast. As if it were already his. My breath left my body in a slow, quiet exhale. He knew he should not have known. Lily did not know. No one knew except me and my father's lawyer. So how I steadied myself. "Who told you I had that money?" Daniel only smiled, lips thin and triumphant. A little bird. My hands began to tremble, but not from fear, from rage, quiet, slow, rising rage. He leaned closer. "Listen, Margaret, this is a good opportunity for all of us. You help us establish a strong foundation, and Lily will have the future she deserves. The future you deserve, you mean." His expression flickered, just a flicker, but enough. "Sign the papers," he said, voice dropping its faux sweetness. "Let's not make this difficult, as if I were the problem." The notary finally spoke, his tone robotic. "Ma'am, I just need your signature here, and—" I snapped the folder shut. "No." Daniel blinked. No, I repeated, my voice firm, steady, stronger than I felt. "I will not sign anything." A crack split through Daniel's composure. His smile vanished. "You owe Lily," he hissed. "You owe your daughter the best life possible. Don't be selfish." I took a step back, stunned. Selfish for protecting my daughter from a man obsessed with my money. His jaw clenched. "You're making a mistake." I turned away, walked to the door, and held it open. "Get out." The notary packed up quickly, sensing the shift in the room. He left without a word. Daniel lingered on the threshold, staring at me with an expression that chilled me to the marrow. A mixture of fury and calculation. "This isn't over," he whispered. I didn't respond. I closed the door quietly, not slamming it, not hurriedly. Just firmly. When the lock clicked, my legs gave out. I sank into a chair and covered my face with my hands. My breath came in uneven waves. The documents still felt like they were in the room with me, choking the air. Daniel's confidence wasn't bravado. He had come prepared. He knew too much. And if he was bold enough to confront me, to bring legal documentation the morning after his wedding, then I knew, deep in the place where intuition becomes prophecy, that this wasn't a simple misunderstanding. This was a plan, a long, calculated plan, one he had crafted step by step, believing me to be nothing more than a weak obstacle standing between him and a fortune. But he had made one critical mistake. He thought he could intimidate me. He thought he could corner me. He thought he could take my silence as weakness. He didn't know the truth. I had been forged by loss, by life, by a father who taught me strength in quiet ways, and beneath my fear lay a steel he had never seen. When I finally rose from the chair, I walked to my bedroom, opened the drawer where I kept my father's letter, and read it again. Asterisk, protect those you love. Asterisk, that was the moment I made my decision. Daniel had declared war, and I would answer him. Not with shouting, not with tears, not with desperation, but with something far more powerful. Asterisk, asterisk, a mother's resolve. Asterisk, asterisk, and the fury of a woman who refuses to let her daughter be devoured by a wolf hiding in groom's clothing. The moment Daniel walked out of my house with the notary trailing behind him, the world felt different. Not broken, not hopeless, just a sharp. As if every worry I had ignored, every uneasy whisper in my chest, had suddenly taken form, standing in front of me in a tailored suit demanding $9 million. He had wanted to devour my daughter's future, and he had expected me to help him do it. He truly didn't know me at all. For an hour after he left, I sat at the table where he had placed those papers. My father's silent legacy nearly transformed into his weapon. I stared at the blank signature lines, the neat legal jargon, the notary's official stamps. Then something inside me shifted. Not fear, not shock. Focus. Clear, fierce, unstoppable focus. I picked up my phone and made 2 calls. One to a lawyer, the second to a private investigator. If Daniel wanted to play games with paperwork, manipulation, and secrets, then he was about to learn he picked the wrong mother-in-law. Because I had asterisk asterisk, nothing asterisk asterisk to lose, but he had everything to hide. Hash 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 asterisk asterisk, the truth begins to unravel asterisk asterisk 2 days later. I sat across from the private investigator, a quiet man with an expression carved out of stone. He slid a folder toward me, the same way Daniel had, but this time the papers inside were not traps. They were revelations. Daniel has a pattern, the investigator said, a long one. I opened the folder. The first page hit me like cold water. Asterisk asterisk, 2 previous marriages. Asterisk asterisk, both short, both ended in sudden annulments. Both followed by large withdrawals from joint accounts. I turned the page. Asterisk asterisk, debt. Asterisk asterisk, tens of thousands. Gambling, credit cards run to their limits, fast, cash loans. The next page. Asterisk asterisk, messages, screenshots of conversations. Asterisk asterisk in them. Daniel bragged about finding a girl with a sentimental mom who probably has a fortune tucked away. My blood ran hot. Another page. A recorded call with one of his friends. Once we get the money from her mom, everything will be set. Lily's sweet, she'll push her to give it. Mothers like that are easy to guilt trip. Easy to guilt trip. He had mistaken kindness for weakness. And then the final page, a note. Asterisk, Daniel contacted a financial advisor 3 months before the wedding asking hypothetical questions about transferring a large inheritance. Asterisk, he had planned this. Every smile, every compliment, every moment he pretended to adore my daughter. It was all a blueprint for theft. By the time I finished reading, my hands no longer shook. My breath no longer wavered. A strange calm filled me. The kind of calm the ocean has right before it swallows a ship whole. Hash 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 asterisk asterisk, Lily's heart breaks, but not alone asterisk asterisk. I invited Lily over the next evening. She arrived still glowing from the wedding, still believing she had walked into her happily ever after. Mom, she said softly, Daniel told me what happened. He said you were upset, that you misunderstood. I took her hands, sat her on the couch, and placed the investigator's folder in her lap. At first she looked confused, then she turned a page and another, and her world began to crumble. "No," she whispered. "This isn't he wouldn't." Her breathing grew shallow. Tears welled. She covered her mouth with trembling fingers. I held her as the truth tore through her, truth sharp enough to shred the fragile dreams she had stitched together with hope. When she could finally speak, her voice was broken. "Mom, he married me for your money." I stroked her hair. "He married you for what he thought he could take." She cried then, not the loud, dramatic sobs of the heartbroken, but the quiet, shattered sobs of someone who realizes they've been prey all along. She cried into my shoulder until her body surrendered to exhaustion. When she finally lifted her head, her eyes were red, but filled with something new. Resolve, the same resolve that had risen in me days earlier. "What do we do now?" She whispered. "We." The most powerful word a mother can hear. "We end it," I said. ****, the legal strike ****. The next morning we met with my lawyer. The evidence was overwhelming. The manipulations were clear. The marriage, formed under deception and financial coercion, was grounds for a clean annulment. We filed immediately. Daniel was served at work. According to witnesses, the moment he read the documents, he turned pale and dropped the stack on the floor. The facade he'd worn so carefully cracked right there in that office lobby. He tried to call Lily, tried to call me. We blocked him within weeks. Everything unraveled for him faster than he could lie about it. His debts were exposed. His previous marriages examined. His messages presented in legal filings. He tried to claim it was all taken out of context. But courts don't have much sympathy for men who attempt to extort their new mother-in-law. The annulment went through. Lily walked out of the courthouse free, no longer a bride, no longer a target. Daniel walked out alone. A man stripped bare of his schemes, with creditors closing in, reputation in tatters, and the future he tried to steal ripped cleanly from his grasp. ****, a future rebuilt on strength, ***, a month later. Lily and I sat on the back porch as the sun dipped behind the trees. The air smelled like fresh rain. She leaned her head on my shoulder the way she used to when she was small. "I keep wondering," she whispered, "what would have happened if you hadn't seen through him." I kissed her hair. "That's why parents are there, to see the shadows their children can't." She nodded slowly. Then I did what I had been waiting for the right moment to do. I told her about the inheritance, the $9 million, the secret my father left behind, the legacy I had protected with silence. Her eyes widened not with greed, not with shock, but with understanding. "Mom," she said, voice thick with emotion, "he would have ruined us." "Yes," I said. "He would have." She reached for my hand. "You saved me." I squeezed her fingers. "Your grandfather saved us both. I only followed his last instruction. Protect those you love. Revenge. But sweet Daniel expected fury, screaming chaos. He expected me to panic, to debate, to be embarrassed, and to surrender. Instead, I destroyed him quietly, cleanly, with truth and law, and the one weapon he never expected, ***, a mother who refused to be fooled. My revenge was not loud. Not violent, not dramatic. It was the simple, chilling kind. He ended up with nothing he wanted, and Lily ended up with everything she deserved. Peace, freedom, a future untouched by greed. As for me, I still hear my father's voice in the back of my mind sometimes. Use it wisely. Protect those you love. And I did. Not with the money itself, but with the strength he trusted me to carry. Because in the end, Daniel learned the most painful lesson of all. You can manipulate a naive woman. You can deceive a hopeful woman, but you should never, ever underestimate a mother.